let's talk about some products that Apple seems to have forgot about. Welcome everybody to AppleInsider. It is Andrew here, and you can find me on Twitter at Andrew_OSU. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and subscribe and smash that notification icon so you don't miss any of my videos. In this video here, I'm going to be talking about 5 products that Apple has seemingly forgot about or just straight up needs to update. Let's go ahead and dive into this with one of Apple's most notorious bad designs that's still available to this day. And yeah, you probably already know what I'm talking about, but it is the infamous Magic Mouse. Now, I actually like the Magic Mouse for what it does. It's a very nice mouse. It is super smooth, and I've never had better scrolling other than this surface. It is a little flat, which I hear is a common problem. It's not as ergonomic as people would like. But the biggest problem is where Apple decided to put the lightning port. The lightning port is on the bottom of the mouse, meaning you cannot use the Magic Mouse while it is charging. Yeah, it's fairly absurd. Now, Apple did technically recently update the Magic Mouse, but that was only with the new silver and black design they debuted with the Mac Studio. There was no other functional or design changes to the latest generation of the Magic Mouse. So Apple, get it together. We need a Magic Mouse that does something better for charging. There are a lot of different options here. I can see one that adopts a wireless charging on the bottom, so it just charges while it's sitting on your mouse pad or on your desk. There's a lot of neat things that could be done here to actually make the Magic Mouse feel like magic. The touch surface and everything else is great. We just need better charging. The second item on the list that we have to talk about is Apple's cables. This seems like a small item, and Apple has taken some steps to correct this, but the lightning cable that is bundled with every iPhone is terrible. The cables themselves are very thin, and they are notorious for breaking along the collars. Apple has very little stress support here, and when these things are used frequently, especially by children, they fray and come apart easier than almost anything else. We know it's possible for Apple to make a better cable. Heck, Apple makes better cables. We can get them with things like the new iMac back here. Apple ships it with a very nice cable that I'm not sure where it is this second, but Apple includes a braided Lightning USB-C cable in the box. Apple includes a nice one with the Mac Pro. There's bunches of cables that Apple puts out that are nice, but the minimum Lightning cable that Apple includes with its headphones, many of its accessories, the iPhones, are terrible. Apple really needs to update these cables. Not only can Apple make a better cable, but we see cheap ones from third parties that are widely available that Apple could borrow some of those ideas and build them into a basic cable. Just this basic one, Apple, you seem to have forgot it still exists. Please update it and give us a slightly nicer one that doesn't break so easily. If I could just interrupt myself for a quick moment, I've got to thank our sponsor for this video, Baseus. Whether you've got an iPhone that's a couple years old, or maybe you've got one that's brand new, you're likely going to need a solid charger to go with it. And Baseus has you covered with its new Super Sci Pro quick charger. This dual output charger can put up out to 30 watts of power when charging your iPhone. If you use that single USB-C port, you can power it up to 30 watts, which will give you more than 50% charge in only 30 minutes. Additionally, since there are 2 ports, you have a future forward one as well as a legacy USB-A port for any older devices that you may have. If you use the ports in tandem, you'll still get 18 watts of power from the USB-C and an additional 12 watts from that USB-A port. With a maximum of 30 watts of power, it also means you can use MagSafe when you're using that USB-C port too, which is my favorite way to charge my iPhone. Not to mention, these little guys are actually 83% smaller than Apple's own 30-watt charger. These compact chargers are safe and ready to charge all of your gear, whether you've got iPhones, iPads, or Apple Watch. The Baseus Super Sci Pro can help you juice up anywhere you are. If you guys want to grab one of these, we've got links for them down below in the description. Thank you again to Baseus for making this video possible. Now, let's go ahead and get back to our main content. That brings us to the third item that Apple honestly seems to have forgotten that it's still selling. That's the iPod Touch. The latest generation iPod Touch is still rocking an A10 Fusion processor on the inside. This chip is years old at this point. It really needs to look at updating or offering an updated version that takes advantage of some new capabilities. It can increase that display so it's not just a 4-inch display. I'm not talking about adding Apple's high-end tech like Face ID and stuff into the iPod Touch, but even just a little attention can make this thing into a still usable device. This is still a great device for kids, and it needs to be a little bit faster to take advantage of the games in Apple Arcade and anything else that Apple has coming down the line. Plus, the camera is still awful. It's still an 8 megapixel camera. Give us a modest spec bump here. You're doing it with the iPhone SE, and that's, what, $400 for a tricked out iPhone SE, where you can spend $400 on an iPod Touch if you get 256 gigs of storage, but you're still looking at an 8 megapixel camera. In some senses, it makes more sense to buy an iPhone SE, which has plenty of newer things in it, than an iPod Touch. For this product, Apple doesn't even sell anymore, but I wish it would. Apple's forgotten about routers. Apple discontinued its airport line of routers, and I really wish that it wouldn't have. The router space is getting congested, and there's just still not a ton of amazing options out there. Even the ones that are easiest to set up still have hiccups and bumps in the road, and some of the big ones like Eero are owned by Amazon, which people have trust issues with. Others like Linksys are great, but they take a long time to get software updates and new features. Apple's worked incredibly well. They were so easy to set up, and they worked perfectly with all of your Apple services. You can get remote access to your Macs that were on your home network, and Time Machine backups were seamless. You could get the Time Machine version of an Apple Airport, time capsule, and it would have a hard drive inside of it. So you just back up right to this on your local network, no having to plug anything in or configure anything. It was so easy, and it just worked. These things were incredibly capable, and Apple just turned the market over to third parties. But I wish Apple had really continued to work on its own routers, especially as we push forward into the smart home space. Finding routers that work with HomeKit are few and far between. Your options really are a subset of the Linksys routers, the Velop routers, or the Eero routers, and that's it. There needs to be more options, and Apple, as the maker of HomeKit and all the other products that you use, really should have some sort of wireless product in its portfolio. I could have even seen something great with the HomePods and mesh Wi-Fi across your home, but instead, we're left with the third-party market. The last product that Apple may have just forgotten that it's still selling is that third generation Apple Watch. The Apple Watch Series 3 is still available to this day, despite Apple introducing the Apple Watch SE as a lower cost entry point option for new Apple Watch users. So it has the Series 7 at the top of the lineup, then it has the SE that's still like a year or so old at this point. But then there's the Apple Watch Series 3 that is still hanging around. Yeah, you can buy it for less than $200, but it has none of the new features and the processor is so old. It is still using the S3 chip inside, whereas the Apple Watch Series 7 has the dual-core S7 on the inside. Now, I will say that Apple doesn't always introduce speed bumps each time around, so it's not like we saw speed improvements from the S3 to the S7, but there are several jumps in there in terms of performance and other features that the Apple Watch Series 3 would greatly benefit from. Stop selling the Apple Watch Series 3, and for all of you out there, you should probably stop buying the Apple Watch Series 3. It's starting to get sluggish on the modern software, and that screen is starting to look a whole lot dated compared to the newer designs that are out there. So please, if you're in the market for an Apple Watch, consider the SE or just an aluminum version of the Apple Watch Series 7, or maybe if you can still find it, an Apple Watch Series 6. But do not buy the Apple Watch Series 3. By the way, rumors do say that Apple will likely discontinue this later here in 2022, but I just wanted to point out that that thing is still for sale many, many years on. Anyway, this was fun just to talk about some products that Apple has not shown enough love to. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments or on Twitter. Are there other products that you think Apple should devote some attention to? Let me know. Otherwise, stay tuned. Got a lot more videos coming your way.